morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice of radio. So today, we're going to be having a little bit of a look at the deck that just went and won the Harrogate Regional Championships in the UK this past weekend. And what is weird about this, ladies and gentlemen, what is slightly unusual about this, is that it plays Gyarados. The Gyarados from Burning Shadows. Now look, it's a Zoroark deck. We've all seen Zoroark a million times before. The lovely Philip Schultz, who did actually go and win Harrogate Regionals with this, he plays Zoroark, so does so many other people at the moment. It's Zoroark, double colorless energy, 20 damage for each Pokemon you've got in play. Discard a card from your hand, draw 2 cards. We've all seen Zoroark. Zoroark's not new. Gyarados, on the other hand, Gyarados is absolutely new. And it's good. Now, 150 HP on a stage 1 is just plain nuts. No, it's not quite as much as Wailord, or indeed Wailord, but other than that, it's about as big as we're getting here. It's crazy good. And it's a single prize Pokemon. Something like an opposing Zoroark GX is going to struggle to KO Gyarados, which is a little bit silly. And we're not using Splash Burn here. 160 damage, 30 damage to each of your No. We're not playing the requisite energy anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We ain't using Splash Burn. But Venting Anger we like a lot. It's for a double colorless energy, which is firstly very convenient, and secondly, oh hey look, that's what we use for Zoroark. Isn't that convenient? And what it does is 50 damage for each Magikarp in your discard pile. Now this was a card I was fairly excited about initially when I saw it. This sounded like a fun card. This sounded like something with which I could have a bit of a play. But it all got a little bit awkward. Because, okay, in theory that's 150 damage, but then if you've got 3 Magikarp in your discard pile, 150 for a double colorless is good, but then you also run into the issue of when Gyarados goes down, by definition you don't have a spare Magikarp. So you really do need to have a Magikarp on the bench for next turn, along with a Magikarp under your active Gyarados, and then you're only doing 100 damage, and 100 damage, it's not that impressive. But there are 2 things in the recent format which have really changed the fortunes of this Gyarados and made it a legitimately viable card. One of them is Blacephalon. Blacephalon Naganadel is the best deck in the format at the moment. It's great. Blacephalon has 180 HP. Blacephalon is weak to water. Do you see where we're going with this? You only need 2 Magikarp in a discard to get a 1-hit KO on Blacephalon, and all of a sudden you've gone from, oh, it's a Zoroark deck, I'm 2-hit KOing, they're 1-hit KOing, this is super awkward, to, yeah, we're 1-hit KOing each other, except I'm taking 2 prizes, they're taking 1, and all of a sudden this gives this Zoroark deck a way better matchup against Blacephalon than any other Zoroark deck. That sounds pretty tasty to me. The other thing is we've got Ditto Prism Star. Now, Ditto Prism Star can be evolved into any Stage 1 Pokemon, and there's essentially 2 options you've got here. Either you get 3 Magikarp in the discard, but then you've got 2 Gyarados ready to go, or you put 4 Magikarp in the discard, evolve Ditto into Gyarados, and then do 200 damage, which is enough to KO something like a Buzzwole GX. Or with a Choice Band, you're even getting up to something like a Gardevoir here, which is phenomenal. Now, in reality, what is probably the best option if you want to use Ditto? Have 3 Magikarp in a discard, have a Gyarados hitting for 150, and when that Gyarados goes down, you've got a second Gyarados hitting for 200. With a Choice Band, you're getting something like a Tapu Lele normally. Generally speaking, Zoroark decks don't get big 1-hit KOs. Well, Gyarados allows you to get big 1-hit KOs, and it's not turn after turn after turn. If you're hitting for weakness, great. If you're not hitting for weakness, you really get kind of 2 good Gyarados. But if you can get 2 GX KOs with Gyarados, well, that's 4 prizes. Gyarados has done what it needs to do. Now, in terms of Magikarp here, we do see the one from Crimson Invasion. Obviously, we see the one from Crimson Invasion. That one gets protection when it's on the bench, so you're going to be okay against something like a Tapu Koko, for instance. There are some spreading decks around there. This helps you out a little bit. But we also see one copy of the Burning Shadows Magikarp. 1 water energy, flip a coin. If heads, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage, done to this Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. Why do we see one copy of this? I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really have an answer for you. Because you're not playing any energy here. This deck plays 4 double colorless energy, that's it. So there's no real reason to be playing one of these, because you can't use the attack because you don't have the requisite energy, and it's got the same HP. Honestly, if I had to guess, I'd say you could only find 3 of the Crimson Invasion ones, because this does happen sometimes when you rock up with an unusual list. You're like, I legit can only find 3 Magikarp. If anyone has a better explanation, let me know in the comment section, but it's got the same HP and you can't use the attack, so In terms of other Pokemon, it's kind of interesting. We've already mentioned Ditto Prism Star, but we have one copy of Marshadow here. Marshadow, it gets both players a new hand of 4 cards. It's Disruption. If you know your opponent's got a good turn brewing, drop it down. You help. We see obviously a couple of Tapu Lele because that gets you your supporter cards, helps you get set up. Tapu Lele, moderately important. We see one copy of Alolan Muck. I love Alolan Muck here. We're not playing any Alolan Grimer. We're essentially going, right, if we need to use this, we are going to build it off of our Ditto Prism Star. That's how we're going to play it here. This is here for emergencies. This is, oh my goodness, I'm against Granbull. Granbull's a real pain in the neck. Hey, Granbull hates being ability locked because then they can't use their Oranguru. So I'll drop this down. There are some matchups where Alolan Muck really helps you out. You're not locked into playing this. If you don't need it, just evolve Ditto Prism Star into a Gyarados. But you know what? If you do need it, and sometimes you will, this is nice. As a side note, we're only actually playing 2 Gyarados here, because like I said, you're probably only getting 2 good Gyarados anyway. Though you can get them back with Rescue Stretcher if you're desperate. We also see here one Oranguru, not the one I just mentioned, the other one. The one from Ultra Prism. This allows you to put 3 cards in your discard pile onto the bottom of your deck. Now, we've seen a lot of control Zoroark decks. I did a video about Zoroark being out of control. I'll pop this in the comment section or in the description so you can go and have a look. And you do play some cards here. You've got Ace Roller and Max Potion to try and stop your opponent actually taking prizes. You can reuse them with this. You're playing 3 Enhanced Hammer to get rid of Special Energy, great in the mirror incidentally. So you can recover them, and against a Special Energy heavy deck, you can play Control with Oranguru. But it's also to stop you against control. If you come across something like a Sylveon, Sylveon's going to be there like, hey, I'm getting rid of all your energy, and we don't have special charge anymore, but that's alright because you can use Oranguru to get it back. And actually, speaking about control decks, Hooper's still out there a little bit, blocks GX attacks, well, Gyarados pretty good against Hooper. So that's the deck. It's a Zoroark deck, and you're still playing some control, and you're still playing Alolan Muck, and you're still attacking with Zoroark, but you've got the option of Gyarados, and you've got the 1/1 Alolan Muck for a little bit of spice to give you some better attackers. Now, in terms of the trainer cards, it's a little bit less spicy. We got 4 Professor Round's Lecture, because that lets you get all your basics out. That's pretty good. Also allows you to search for Magikarp, and don't forget that you can discard them with Zoroark's ability. That's pretty nice. 4 Ultra Ball to search out your Pokemon, and 1 Mysterious Treasure. Now, Mysterious Treasure does actually allow you to search for either your Marshadow, your Tapu Lele, or your Alolan Muck, which is a few, but it also discards a card from your hand. That can be a Magikarp. 4 copies of Timer Ball, because actually you've got quite a lot of evolution Pokemon here. You got your Gyarados, your Zoroark, your Muck, etc. Not etc, literally just them. So, Timer Ball's quite good. Couple copies of Cynthia, because it's the best draw supporter we've got. 1 copy of Tate and Liza, good draw supporter but also a switch. Couple copies of Judge, like we said with Marshadow, it's nice to have a bit of disruption. If you've got a Gyarados stuck in the active, I say stuck like it's a bad thing, hitting for 150, 200, slowing your opponent down is good. And remember, Judge does not hurt you anywhere near as much because you've got trade to help you out here. 3 Ace Roller, 1 Max Potion for healing, like we mentioned. 2 copies of Professor Kukui. We see this a lot in Zoroark decks. You could play Devoured Field. Here we're just playing Professor Kukui. It's because there's a whole bunch of stuff out there like White Kyurem, for instance, or like Buzzwole that have 130. You're naturally doing 120. This puts you over. Plus, again, the drawing 2's not ideal, but you've got Zoroark's trade to help you out, so the lack of draw's not a big problem. This helps you to hit the numbers. And let's say you're against something like a Tapu Lele with a Gyarados with 3 Magikarp in the discard, this puts you up to 170. Or if you've got a Choice Band, it puts you up to 200, and hey, there goes Lycanroc. And Lycanroc is a great counter to Zoroark, so essentially Professor Kukui in a Choice Band, 3 Magikarp in the discard, and Gyarados gets a 1-hit KO on Lycanroc. That seems pretty nice to me. 3 Choice Band, obviously, for doing the extra damage. 3 Enhanced Hammer, like we mentioned, to get rid of Special Energy. And 2 copies of Pal Pad. This is a deck that reuses supporters. We've already mentioned Oranguru, and that can reuse them, and that's good. But, oh, and 3 copies of Guzma. I really should have mentioned Guzma. It pulls Pokemon off the bench. Every deck plays it. It's great. But maybe you want your Tate and Liza for switching. Maybe you want Judge for a bit of disruption. Maybe you want to go Heavy Ace Roller for healing if your opponent's not 1-hit KOing. Maybe you want to go Professor Kukui so you can constantly be hitting the relevant numbers. This deck has a bunch of different supporters which fill slightly different niche roles. So I thought, you know what? Yeah. That's probably why he's playing Pal Pad. And that's probably why he's playing 2 Pal Pad. And that sounds kinda good. It's a great list. It is exactly the kind of list we want to see coming out of a regional championships winning. Yes, it's Zoroark, and we've seen Zoroark be amazing for a long time now. There's not much interesting about Zoroark at this point. But combining it with a Gyarados that's been out for a long time and not seen any play, yes. Random 1 copy of a Alolan Muck which can only be played with Ditto. 3 Ace Roller with 2 Pal Pad and a Max Potion for big healing. These are things that make it very, very interesting indeed. Yes, I know Zoroark has been playing Ace Roller for a while, but this goes pretty heavy on healing if you want it to, which you don't necessarily have to. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great deck. It looks awesome. And now, I want to know what you think about it. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice, would ya? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays. We've hit 3,000 subs, yay! But I'm greedy, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like a few more. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.